Memories from the Dominican Republic. To those of you that remember or were down in Escuela, Caribe, or in the program of New Horizons Youth Ministries, a now defunct troubled teen program, and from the troubled teen industry. It was founded by Gordon Blossom. He liked kids, but not in a legal way. So I won't get into that. But he founded the program. He started off in Haiti. He moved it to the Dominican Republic. And I went down there in February of 1990 and came home in May of 1991. I don't think any of the staff down there were good staff members. No, none of them. There were some that were nice, and it's hard to reconcile in my heart because I feel really close to at least one or two people, even though I haven't talked to them in a long time. But they were like, at least helped me out of a bad situation. It was complete, just mental abuse, physical abuse, emotional, spiritual, verbal, and the worst kind. I'm not going to put a competition between different kinds of abuse, but I think we know what we're talking about. Luckily, me personally, my body did not go through that. So yeah, anybody working there thinking that they're one of the good staff members, you knew what was going on and you didn't leave. And you let the program decide what was going to happen and not bring the law into it at all. Besides that, there was a lot of mind games and many forced calisthenics and physical abuse that went on. So having said all of that, and that I don't keep in touch with any of the staff members nor give them an excuse, there were few people that had my back at a couple of times. Surprisingly, house fathers. Now, I think this guy's probably pretty strange. I really don't know if he's a bad person or not. But Dan Kopensparger, when John Barber, he was the most physically abusive house father I had. Jonathan Barber, he was terrible. He was physically abusive, mentally abusive, psychologically abusive, but not that other kind of abuse that I was talking about. I'm not going to say he did that. So he was doing his thing. And I was doing the push-ups like he told me to. I'd done so many, over 100, that I was falling out of push-up position. And, he would kick my legs out from under me and do all this. And I couldn't complete what he was yelling at me to do. And it was so loud. And, he was just being so loud that a house father way up the hill from us in another house heard what was going on. He got on his motorcycle, came down there, and instead of yelling at me with the house father, I don't think they really weren't allowed or supposed to do that. So instead of saying anything to him, he said, "You okay?" or "What's going on?" or something like that. And he got down with me. "You can do this, Liz. Just do one more," kind of stuff like that. And then that was Luke, the house father that came down on top of the hill. He and his wife, I'm going to get her name wrong, Leah maybe, had a baby. Shortly after I came, I think they had just had the baby, I suppose, during this time. And he came down and was like making sure I was okay, basically. And then later at school, and may have been when Mr. Reynolds was the house father, but they were giving me a real hard time about this guy that I talked to. We weren't dating. There's no way to do that, but they couldn't stand the fact that we were close. So I don't remember exactly what it was, but they were just giving me a real hard time. And the Dan Kopensparger, strange dude, he was really, really trying to help me. That was when he got down and was like, "One more, Liz. You can do this. Just breathe." I never got that from anybody else down there. Luke and Dan did give me that. And then one time, this guy, Doug, Doug and Liz ended up getting married after I was down there. But Liz was a relief house mom, group leader, right? They were both group leaders and had some other hats at times. And Miss Liz, I just don't think I want to talk to her. But she would have been one of the ones down there that I've always said was a good staff member. But her husband, before he was her husband, I don't know what to say about him really, but he finally saw what it was doing to me. And he came up to me and he said, "You don't seem like you're doing too good. Your eyes have dark circles, or are you getting enough sleep?" And, I don't know what my face looked like, but I wasn't doing well. I was doing really poorly. And I almost felt like I could tell him what was going on up at the house with the cruel house father. Not the, I'm not saying one's bad than another, but the one I don't think I can mention on here. He didn't do that. But Doug knew something was wrong, and he was encouraging me. So Doug, Dan, and Luke, that is something I remember more than 34 years later. So thank you. Thank you very much. And if any New Horizons people out there, whether you like me or not, if you know those people, tell them they did some good. Wish they had left sooner. Wish they didn't agree with the program, but at least you had one student's back that I know of. Thanks.